My dream is.
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 My dream is to have a life full of happiness, mobility, and health.
And my dream is that same access and care and protection.
Dream for all the people with SMA that one day we find a cure.
My dream is that the SMA community has the capacity, the power, and the resources to bring together researchers, practitioners, and us so that we together get to the most groundbreaking research for SMA.
Hi, Tom. I'd like to take the opportunity to ask you, how have you seen the SMA arena change in the last 10 to 20 years? How do you think research has impacted SMA? And also, how do you find the contribution of research to the people living with SMA?
I remember being in SMA scientific meetings around maybe 2005, 2006, and hearing the first glimmers that there were going to be therapies coming through on the horizon. And they're not necessarily believing, hoping, but not believing. And then when you see that fundamental research into the biology of the disease has led to not one therapy, but 3 therapies, each of which works in a different way, is so exciting. And I hope that effort, the commitment from the patient community to support that research, to engage then with, for example, clinical trials and trusting that the scientific research is valid enough to test in patients, has paid off. We're now in an era where there are disease-modifying treatments for patients. It's not the end by any means. And I think we understand the disease better. We now know more about the biology of it. What does this elusive SMN protein do? Why do we need it? Where do we need it? When do we need it? These are the questions that are being answered now, and we should be really proud of what we've done, but at the same time recognize that there are lots of gaps still. Our knowledge is still, in some ways, in its infancy. But when you compare, for example, the SMA field to other even related neuromuscular disorders, we are in some ways light years ahead of them in terms of the therapy options, disease understanding, and that's only come about because of the community as a whole and creating an environment where researchers are allowed to do that work and are encouraged to do that work. And I feel incredibly privileged to have been a very small part of it.
My dream is that people living with SMA live their best quality of life. What do you think about the importance of the dialogue between the fundamental and clinical researchers?
The feedback from scientist to clinician and from clinician to scientist is the base for the improvement of the treatment for SMA patients. Researchers need the information about the disease, some basic information like the course of disorder, the symptoms, the characteristic of the population of the patients. From the other side, the research needs the samples from the patients, the blood samples, DNA samples, sometimes biopsy. It's really very important to know, to recognize the molecular background, because it's the base for development, the new therapies which change really the course of the disorder.
The patient voice is critical, and I think one of the things that I love so much about the SMA community as a whole is that we work as a whole, as one community. What the community thinks is important, should be, must guide everything we do in our research, really.
I think that the SMA patient community, we're a privileged community because we have learned a lot. We have had to educate ourselves to go through these science fiction to science to the patients or the people living with SMA, we have had to learn to navigate waters that we were not prepared. You prepared yourself to be a scientist and to be a researcher. I used to live a very different life, and now today I am speaking with you, and I'm participating in scientific congresses, and I am entertaining a dialogue that I didn't expect to entertain. But when you have it and you start, as I say, to know the researchers and you start to build trust with each other, you get to a genuine exchange that is so useful, I think, for both sides. We understand better what you need from us, and then we can provide it to you, and you can understand what we need, and then you can work towards it in a better way. So it's this communication and this exchange between the patient community and the research community is fundamental for us.
My dream is that we will have enough resources to invest into out-of-the-box ideas, that we can help these ideas not stay stuck in laboratories, but with a shared commitment from all stakeholders, realize them in a timely and effective manner. Thomas, you have a background in basic, fundamental research. Was there always a dream about building a biotech company, or did you have other dreams? What were those dreams?
I never actually sort of had a plan or a dream to build a biotech company. And I think that applies to many people who are doing basic research. What really drives them is fascination about the area that they're working in within the science, eagerness to learn, and curiosity. But at the same time, most people will have a high-level ambition that if someday the research that they're doing could actually be used for something that would, benefit society. That's the hope that everyone have and should have.
Did you meet anyone that had a neuromuscular disorder to sort of make you go in that direction, or was that more about your research interest and just happened to be in that area?
I think it's a gradual process that I knew about the diseases. I could see the opportunity with the basic research we had done. But then there are some key experiences, at least I've had along the way. And I remember especially one particular situation when we were in Cambridge with an offsite with a company where there was a SMA patient who was telling about the importance of retaining hand function for everyday life and controlling his chair and things like that. That was very important, I think, to understand that sometimes smaller things can make a huge difference. And you don't know that unless you actually speak to patients.
Organisations like SMA Europe play a really important role in facilitating that the research community feels that they are engaged with the patients. It's so important that we use things like congresses and meetings to facilitate that face-to-face engagement. I really want especially the patient community to realise that the research community is not some remote group that is unapproachable, and the more I think we talk to each other, the more there is that active engagement, the better the future will look. The more we can deliver real-world improvements in quality of life, treatment options for those living with SMA.
How did you feel after having received the diagnosis and understanding that there was a treatment for this condition for a few months on the market?
It was release for us to know what is happening to Benio and the start of our fighting for the drug, for the medicine for him. And we didn't thought a lot about how it comes to have this medicine. We just start to look for it and for the access. After 2-3 years, when we came back home, because we were treated first in France, then in Belgium, and then we came back Poland. And then when we were a little bit used to having this drug, starting to look for his progress, we start to think about researchers who were working on the drug, and then starting to think about another possibilities in research. But the most important is to regain the muscle strength, even if medicine work for young children and newborn children. I think that we should find something for an adult who are not responding as strongly as the children, and they need to progress even a little bit to gain some power in arms, to get head control, because it changed a lot in their autonomic lives. And they need it. My son Benio, after treating, got a lot of new abilities. He started to having head control, to move his arms, work with his legs. He gets stronger.
So not only stabilization.
No, he got a lot after treatment. He made a big progress, and it was even visible in this researchers' lines. So we were very happy for him, and we had a lot of hope to get this good progress. But now the progress is a little bit worse, but I think he's still progressing. So he's using his wheelchair. He tried to crawl a little bit, to move differently, to use his legs, and we hope to get for him, I don't know, maybe something which would help him to stand on his leg, to get more power in arms, to open the doors by himself. So this is our hope for Benio, for his independence.
Researchers have to know the results and the impact on what they're doing, and I wish for them to be ambitious, to think big, and to go for the next level, because they've made it once.
We as patients have to understand that fundamental research is challenging. It's challenging to fund it. Companies face challenges with designing clinical trials and also getting funding for the early start. What is important for patients and what is going on in industry, regulatory authorities need to understand patient-relevant outcomes. One thing is communication and having members who have the lived experience providing their perspectives. But another thing is something more concrete. The research meeting that we organize every other year, that's a big part in bringing the different fields together. Not just basic researchers, but also the companies and the clinicians and people living with SMA. So all of the the key stakeholders in the community, bring them together, so that way we can really foster and support the creation of new ideas and building them into new real things. We also have the call for research, where we help fund research projects at universities that are really groundbreaking and create that new knowledge, those crazy ideas that nobody else will fund, that are SMA specific. Those are really our responsibility to fund as an SMA organization, because nobody else will do that.
The new studies can develop the possibility to assess the profile of the patients. I think we need a study on multisystemic changes, the disorder in SMA. We think that this is the multisystemic disorder because the SMN protein is expressed in all tissue. But we really don't know what is the consequence of the level of the SMA protein in different tissue like liver, kidney, brain or bones, yes. So this is, I think, very, very important field of new researches.
We need to communicate the research to get inspiration, because if you tell people about what you're doing, you're going to get a feedback. And from that feedback, you will learn yourself. And that can be specifically speaking to patients, where you will learn what is actually the unmet medical need there. I think it's also an obligation, to some extent we have, when you do fundamental research, that you tell the society what actually is happening, for instance, at universities, to do that. Developing knowledge is like walking up the stairs. You take one step every time, and you're not going to be able to do all of them yourself. So you need other people to keep this rolling, and therefore you need to have a good communication to tell what you are doing, so people can build on that.
What do you think about the role of a patient organization?
Patient organization can play a big role and help in researches. One of the very interesting initiatives of SMA Europe, I think it was priority setting project. The goal of this project is to find the 10 topic questions unanswered yet by research, but from patients, from families, from caregivers and clinicians. So I think it's the kind of initiative very important to help to motivate and also to inspire the researchers for new studies.
In life's vast canvas, We are all unique, like nature's art, each one a masterpiece, with a place in every heart. We're not trapped by challenges, we stand with pride, with strong hearts and courage, side by side. We are the smart warriors, uniting our plight, dreaming together, sharing hopes as kings, as one community, chasing